Hello. Recently, Adam Silver has come out and he says he needs to fix tanking in the NBA, okay? Too often, teams are trying to tank. Like this year, when the Utah Jazz, Jaren Jackson gets hurt and he can't play for the rest of the season. So, obviously, since he can't play, they're just trying to tank. And we can't be having situations like that where teams are just ass, they're playing bad, and they can't pick themselves back up and get good again, okay? They're trying to limit tanking and make sure this league stays as competitive as possible, okay? Adam Silver, to solve this issue of tanking, has come up with a new lottery system, okay? Now, the very last part of this is taken from a Google AI, so who knows how true it is. But everything is fact-checked by Shams, except for maybe the last part, which I'll get to. But basically, the bottom teams now have a 5% chance, picks 1, 2, and 3, okay? In the current lottery system, it's an equal 14% chance. Well, in this lottery system right here, it's a 5% chance across the board for the bottom 3 teams. Then, teams 4 through 10 get an 8% chance of hitting on that number 1 pick, okay? Because the bottom 3 teams get 2 lottery balls, and the middle teams 4 through 10 get 3 lottery balls. And then at the very end of it, the fringe teams 11 through 14, the play-in losers, they get a 5% chance of hitting. But this image from the Pat McAfee show does show that it says that the play-in teams get 1 to 2 lottery balls, and this Google image says that they get equal percentage as the bottom 3 teams at that 5%. So I'm not 100% sure why it's 1 to 2. Because in this new rule system, it does say that you cannot have a top 5 pick 3 years in a row, and you cannot have the number 1 pick in back-to-back seasons. Because clearly this has been an issue. If we take a look at this chart right here, we can see that the number 1 pick over and over has been won by the same team like 3-4 years in a row, okay? Obviously, it has happened over and over again. Not really. So, this is absolutely garbage. Why do the absolute worst teams have such a low chance of getting the number 1 pick? And you can't be bad for consecutive years, okay? In that Pat McAfee clip, they actually do have one graphic that I actually really do like, where it shows how many teams could not exist. Right here showing the San Antonio Spurs wouldn't exist, the Pistons wouldn't exist, the Cavs wouldn't exist, the Rockets wouldn't exist. Notice how a lot of these teams just kind of went through a rebuild and are just getting back with it, and now that ability to rebound that quickly is gone. There is no quick rebuilds, getting a couple good years in the draft and going back up according to this new NBA, because they need it more competitive. They need more good players on good teams, so they're spreading the wealth and not allowing teams to just tank and rebuild, which is part of the game. Okay, now my theory is that this just makes it easier for them to rig the league. Okay, they want to be able to have picks go where they deserve, where they want to send them on their own time without having it be such a big argument. Because in this system, when you only have teams getting like 5 and 8%, there's no real this looks wrong, okay? There is none of that. Like there was this past season when the Dallas Mavericks somehow, some way won the draft lottery from like pick 11. We see it on this chart, and then I'll pull up an actual graphic in just a second. 8.57 is the average draft position for number 11. The highest they've ever jumped to before is 4. They've always stayed at 11 outside of that. And now coincidentally, they miraculously get the Hail Mary of a lifetime and hit on this rate. Let's take a look at this quick little rate that I've got going on over here. Here we go. Dallas Mavericks, they had a 2% chance of hitting on that draft pick. And everyone called it rigged. A lot of people started calling it rigged. Because what are the odds? They send Luka to LA. The Lakers get their superstar for the next decade. And all the Mavs have to do is get the number 1 overall pick. And all the talk, Jeannie Buss coming out and being like, oh, we had to keep it under wraps. You know, no one wanted it to get out into the news world. If someone like Mark Cuban heard this, he would have called in and shut that down immediately. One of the owners would have done something. And it's like, I don't know, would they have? Because they got the number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg, who basically can be a very similar player to Luka. So, at least on that, like, ceiling-wise, people think he could be a really great superstar for Dallas and be that next leader for them to get him back. And so now it's going to make it easier to rig, man. That's all I'm saying. It's going to make it easier to rig if they're doing this. But let's also hear their excuse, because I thought this was interesting from the same show. I thought this was very interesting, what they said about how they felt about this relegation from Shams. And now Shams is the highest insider in the game in the NBA, so he's got a lot of connections. So what he says, I see him almost as like he's speaking for the league right here.
But what if you are just the assiest ass team and put the ass in association of the NBA for multiple times in a row? Like, what happens if that happens? Because I assume people are going to be...
What happens in soccer? What happens in soccer? Don't you get relegated to another league? Like Adam Silver.
Soccer? Soccer's been going on for like 100 years over there, 150 years over there.
There's like 1,000
Adam
leagues.
Silver has taken a lot of models from the soccer. You think about the play-in tournament, the in-season tournament. There's been a lot of...
That's what it is. He's calling it soccer. They're like, hey, look at soccer. Look at FIFA. Look at their success over there in Europe. This is the NBA. This is America. They don't have multiple underleagues. I mean, the Pat McAfee show, they said it right away. They don't have the underleagues to do that kind of shit. They don't have that. You can't be punishing your worst teams in the name of competitiveness. It makes no sense. Look at the Sixers back in the day when they were doing their tankathon every year. They were missing on their picks, like Jahlil Okafor, miss. Nerlens Noel, miss. And overall, it was a miss. Okay, like they had so many misses and they still clawed their way back through that rebuild process of getting draft picks and going from there. But now it's going to be even harder for those teams to do any sort of bounce back, and it's going to be because of this crappy draft lottery system. And it's like, what do you mean? Why do you keep taking soccer ideas? What is the thought process behind that? Because they're not working. They are historically not working at all. Not one single bit, man. Because like the NBA Cup, he wants to talk about the NBA Cup. Who cares about the NBA Cup? Not a single player in the league respects it. No one understands how the NBA Cup really even works outside of at some point you get to go play in Vegas. That's the only part people understand. Like, here is the Thunder when they were finding out, and the whole comments, I don't have the comments on the screen for this, but all the comments are like, yeah, we don't understand this crap either. We don't know what's going on in the NBA Cup. The players don't know what's going on in the NBA Cup. No one understands it, and because no one really cares about it. No one cares about the NBA Cup. See, listen to this. Listen to this.
You guys clinch West Group A, and you'll play Phoenix again in the first round of the knockouts. What does it mean to win your group?
Play them again?
Yeah, so the wild card.
Oh, and then if we win that game, we go to Vegas?
So confused.
You go to Vegas.
Oh.
They're so confused. They don't know.
How does that work? They're in our pool. So when we play someone from another pool? No?
So there's a wild card.
Okay,
and
nice.
the highest point differential of everybody else. So they're the wild card.
We have to play somebody again to go to Vegas, and we're 4-0.
Yeah. Remember last year we had to play Dallas at home? Yeah. Yeah, this rules we don't know. They know.
See, man, they don't know. They say it at the very end. They don't know what's going on. They're just there playing ball, man. But real quick, I did want to go over the last couple years and just see, like, man, does tanking actually work? Do these teams that are supposedly tanking so hard to be pick 101, does it actually come to fruition? Well, as we already know, with the Dallas Mavericks in last year, no. And the Spurs moved up, okay? And now I'm going to play a fun little game of, could it have been rigged, okay? I'm going to go through this new lottery system they had since 2019. 2019 was the very first year they did it. And let's go through and see, could this have been a rigging year? So, last year, yes. I mean, it was obvious. Dallas still needed a superstar. Dallas is a big place. So they get pick 101, but they wanted their biggest superstar over there with the Lakers. And what does happen? The Mavs get him. And Spurs, they want Wemby to be paired up with someone. They want a stud with Wemby. Before changing the lottery system, they want a stud with Wemby. I think this year, very questionable, very likely to be rigged. If we were doing a tier list, this is on the very likely list. Okay, next one up, 2024 now. Let's see what they got going on in 2024. Atlanta winning the lottery from pick 10 moving up to 1. Then you got Washington staying at pick 2. Who really fell? Detroit fell. Detroit and Charlotte, they always lose. I mean, obviously, they technically won up that one time. Honestly, this one, I mean, it's not like anyone really even knows Zachary Risarcher. I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of an NBA casual, okay? I just hate this lottery system that they're doing. So I honestly know nothing about this guy. He is the most unknown first overall pick. I was a much bigger fan like the late 2010s. That's when I was like really watching. For the last couple of years, not as much. But it's cool to see the Celtics win it all. Next, the Spurs. I'm going to say could have been unlikely. This year, the Spurs get Wemby rigged. Rigged. And you know why it's rigged? Is Popovich's last ride. They were getting Popovich a guy, his last Tim Duncan, his last superstar big man, his last David Robertson. That's what Wemby was. And they gave it to him. And then they gave Charlotte a bone. Ripped Detroit. They hate Detroit too. They hate Detroit. They know there's nothing in Detroit for the NBA, I guess. 2022, the Orlando Magic win it all. Houston falls. I'm going to go clean. And this is why. Who cares about Orlando? I mean, I guess Orlando, though, it's not like a big city. You know, like, if you're going to send someone somewhere, it's going to be Miami. I know Miami's wasn't even an option. But I just mean, like, you're not really going to boost Orlando when there were options. Like, I feel like Houston would have been a bigger option. Detroit, not Indiana. It would have been Houston or Detroit. I mean, then again, they've shat on Detroit a lot, man. So that's the thing. Detroit is the biggest showing that rebuilding, that tanking does not work with how often they get moved down. Same with Utah. Utah has never moved up under the tenure of their newest owner. So that's interesting to keep a note of. 2021, Detroit wins the draft lottery, got Cade Cunningham. Houston fell down. Houston also falls a lot. Houston, Detroit, this year they didn't know what was going on. I'm going to call 2021 clean, though. I mean, Detroit actually got to win a lottery. It felt like they were kind of doing their pushing down already, and which something I actually want to do mention about that pushing down in a minute. But I'm going to go not rigged in 2021. 2020, Minnesota wins the lottery. Golden State falls. I had a friend say this lottery was rigged. I don't imagine rigging a lottery for Minnesota. I mean, I don't know. And so I'm going to go not rigged on this lottery either. And then 2019, the very first time, I also had a friend think that this one could have been rigged. I mean, everyone was saying New York. I was thinking maybe it could be rigged at one point, but then I was like, no, they would have sent him to New York. I'm going to go not rigged in 2019. I saw someone online say that they felt like Zion was completely rigged. But I'm going to go not rigged for this one either. It's just mainly the last couple, man. The last couple have been fishy, to say the least, especially this year. And I feel like with just all the backlash that the league got, because I felt like a lot of people were saying that this draft lottery was rigged. And so I think part of that backlash also played into the part of, man, if we just change the lottery system up, everyone has low odds. We could put anyone anywhere. Because also, take a look at this, guys. This is also what I wanted to show. We're talking about, people are always trying to tank. They are already, with this lottery system they had in place, which I already thought was a bit much. Like, I feel like you're the worst team should have a bit higher odds. I don't think the bottom three should be flattened. But in this lottery system, one has not won it. We never, in this entire tenure of this lottery system, not once was pick 1 ever 101. In fact, pick 2 had the best average draft position in this lottery system. They did. Can you believe that? And pick 5 was better than pick 4, interestingly enough. But even more interestingly, how successful pick 7 and 8 have been. It's kind of crazy. New Orleans was one of those success stories, and pretty much all of the other number 7s moved up. A couple times in the more recent years, they've moved back down to 9. But it's just like the couple of weird outliers, like Dallas is the big one, San Antonio jumping to get Wemby was a crazy one. It's just sometimes it felt a little fishy, man. And I feel like this league, the way it's set up now, this would perfectly allow them to hide who they want to win the lottery and get the team that they want to win the lottery. just with the way it's going, with the gambling and everything going on too. We're in a very heavy gambling era. People are gonna be betting on draft lotteries, and now you destroy the odds even more. Like, I don't know, man. It's really fishy what the NBA is doing. Either way, trying to copy soccer and also comparing this draft lottery system to a relegation type system, you just can't do it. There's such a big difference. Punishing the worst teams in soccer, the difference is a team is getting rewarded. A team is moving up in the world, okay? A team is going up a league to try and compete to make their mark in that league now, okay? In the Premier League or wherever, okay? But in NBA, they're not going down. You're not calling up a G League. You're not calling China saying, Shanghai Sharks, you're making the call. You're going pro this year. That's not what's happening. So you can't be punishing. You want your worst teams to get better. You gotta give them a bone, a little bone, okay? Look at other leagues, like NHL, they got a draft lottery system. No one complains and feels like there's a tanking issue. NFL, I mean, there's tankathons, and teams win it at the end because you know what is partially true? The coaches that are fighting for their jobs and trying to prove, hey, I could lead this team next year, or the players trying to earn a contract on their next team, they are still trying. They might be playing more for personal gain. Like, we've had baseball players come out and talk and say in a bad season, man, they just kind of change their mindset and start playing for personal gain. They do that. They're still trying to win out there. And I think another big issue is if your issues with, bad teams resting players to tank, then you got to stop good teams from resting players. It's a two-way street. You're having good teams resting players, and bad teams are like, well, they're doing our star players because even the bad teams got good players, okay? The bad teams have good players. So when the bad teams have good players, they're going to rest their players, especially if they're hurt. If they're hurt, they're definitely going to get rested. And so you just have this mixture of maybe they should just all play. NHL, there's no rest days. They have 82 games. Baseball, 162. If you're good to go, you're playing damn near 150, 160 games. Like, you're not sitting on. Now, I know baseball is less physical technically than basketball, but hockey isn't. And they do that shit. They'll play 82 games. They don't give a fuck. So maybe if they want to stop the notion that tanking is an issue in the NBA, maybe just stop having players sit in general. I think it would actually help. I think that would make this idea of tanking go away rather than just actually making the draft a shit show and either saying any team has equal odds of getting the number one pick, basically. In fact, a middling bad team is better off. Because that's the thing. The worst, like, the Lakers, so, like, very rarely do they actually, these big market teams finish near the bottom. Because usually they can at least get some sort of name value type player who can carry them to a middling spot, and then they can just slide them right up. Like the Spurs, they were from that 10th spot, the Mavs are in that 11th spot. They're bigger markets, technically. So, I just think it's very fishy. So, guys, let me know, what do you guys think of this draft lottery system that has been proposed by Adam Silver? I think it is the worst lottery system. I think the idea of trying to compare the NBA to professional soccer in Europe is a terrible idea. I feel like the NBA Cup is diluting the product. I mean, making the regular season even more and more pointless with every passing year. That's their issue, is they feel like the regular season is pointless right now. And it's like, well, part of it is because of stuff like this. You're making the games really not matter. Who cares where you finish in the standings? I mean, shit, if you're a play-in team, your coaches are really going to be trying to lose. You know why? Or the managers are going to be wanting to lose. You know why? They'd rather have the extra lottery ball. And you know what's weird is there's this note. Now, this is the part that Shams didn't explicitly mention, but it is mentioned in the AI version, which is that they will change the odds even more if they deem that you were trying to tank. How do they determine that? What is the definition of being forcefully tanking versus just standard losing? Like, I don't know. I mean, are they going to start calling if you say your player's hurt, are they going to, like, say you're trying to tank now? I don't know. I mean, play-in teams, I'd rather my team just miss the playoffs than be a play-in team. Who gives the fuck about a play-in? I think the play-in was a garbage add-in too. I mean, there's so many rule changes recently. I've been hurting the league more than helping it. I mean, baseball is catching back up. Baseball was dead. Now baseball's catching up in popularity to basketball. So guys, let me know what you think of this lottery system. I think it's garbage. I think it's just an excuse to probably make it easier to rig in the future because of the flattened odds, and also just making it worse in general. So guys, let me know. See ya. God bless. Bye.